Hello, and welcome to What's What with Dilly and Dally. What's up, Dilly?
What's up, Dally?
Hello, again. Welcome to What's Up with Dilly and Dally, again. I am Dilly for this episode. Nicole will be your Dally today. And with us, we have someone who has not been on the train yet. We're excited to actually have our first guest, our first official guest on the official podcast. And we have Ace. Ace, would you like to introduce yourself?
So my name is Ace. I am a black. What the hell? I'm a black queer content creator on Twitch, and I have a podcast it's gonna be released on Spotify, but it's called Making It Known with my boy Shiny Pen. I've been doing this since January. I play a lot of horror games, also some shooters like Rogue Company, might do a little bit of Call of Duty, while talking about like social justice issues, specifically around the black communities, the queer communities, but mostly trans communities. Because although I do not identify as trans, I identify as giving a fuck about the trans community. And I think everyone should.
Yes.
Damn right.
Now you see exactly why we asked Ace to come on the show, because she's awesome.
I appreciate that.
God, we love that. So yeah,
So backstory here just a little bit. So when Novi was being like basically formed, we were looking for like, and when we were deciding to do our podcast, we were looking for people to interact with online. And I found Ace. I want to say it was a list that I saw that someone else had posted in like a Reddit thread about like people. Yeah, it was like people you should follow that are like up and coming, like people you should follow. And I was like, cool, let's just see. And I went throrough like, and it was basically I think people who were like talking about social justice like content, because that's what we like to do at Novi. Mm-hmm. And I immediately like saw your profile and things you were doing, and I sent it to Nicole, and I was like, this person's amazing, we have to have him on the podcast. And then we started like watching your streams and realizing like all of the actual good shit that you were doing. And we were like kind of like fangirling about it for a long time. And then when we asked if you want, we saw a tweet that Asa put out that she wanted to be on more podcasts, and we were like, I sent it to Nicole in a screenshot, and I was like, we have to.
This is our opening. Let's take it. Let's shoot our shot.
Yeah. So we're a little fangirly about it because we actually like are just fans of your content. Like we really do enjoy watching. I was almost late to a meeting we had because I was literally watching one of the charity streams that you had done, and I was like just caught up in it. Complete time blindness took over, and I almost was late to a meeting. So
I appreciate that though. That's like, I don't know. I'm getting used to people like not like liking my presence that much to use words such as fangirl, because like I don't want to say I have fans. I feel like everybody's just a member of the Ace squad, you know what I'm saying? Like we're all this vibe. We all just like, we're all on the same wavelength or whatever the case may be. But like, it's just, I'm getting to the point of realizing that the things I say and what I do does have a ripple effect and make change. So I appreciate you sharing all that, because I'm really happy you slid into my DMs.
Yes.
Amazing.
I think what's one of the things that is so incredible that you're doing is you're advocating for Twitch to have the Black Gamer tag. That's like one of the biggest things. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what happened was, obviously people were advocating for the trans tag for years. I wasn't, like, in my previous account with my ex-girlfriend, I wasn't too much into social justice issues, because I was like, oh my god, I just want to be a lesbian couple and make it on YouTube or some shit. So I wasn't focused on other people, to be completely blunt. But under this one, I was just like seeing it everywhere. And then it was like a week of killings, of murders of Black people. Like, I think everyone remembers that week. It was like a couple months ago, back to back to back. And I had a podcast episode, a pop-up on my boy Shiny, making it known about Black Lives Matter. And I got pissed and I was like crying and I was like, so what the fuck are we going to do? Because I can't find people that look like me. I made the user voice. It gained really big traction like overnight and I was not expecting that. And then I like tweeted out like, oh, I want to see more people that look like me. And I'm thinking like, oh, like I want to meet more people so that they would introduce me to more people. So some Black Twitch partners got really, offended by what I had put out there, which is understandable because you can't really ask people of color to always advocate. So that was one thing that really put a fire on my ass. Like, I have to do this. Like, I have to carry this shit. So in every space I was in, I was mentioning the Black tag. All my friends would like advocate for it in their Twitch streams. Like, they had commands to the Black tag and the trans tag. I worked with my mom, Lucia Everblack, a great, great, great trans woman. She was one of the many people that were advocating for the trans tag, but she would advocate for both at the same time. And it was crazy. I lost a lot of sleep. I didn't stream as much. And when we found out that like the hot tub streamers got like a category, I remember we were pissed. Not because I don't believe people should have their own categories, but they came out of nowhere. Whereas these people have been advocating, trans people have been advocating for years. The Black tag's only been a thing for like 2 months or at that point, right? So after a little bit of controversy or a lot of controversy that night, Twitch announced that they'll be releasing all these tags by like the Tuesday of the following week, like a week before Pride Month. And we got it. We got the Black tag. We got lesbian. We got everything. We got mental health. Like, we got a lot of the shit that we were asking for, but there's still so much work to be done. But in an ever evolving space, the work is never going to be done. But yeah, that's what happened with the Black tag. I advocated for it, got some traction, and we got it with the trans tag. Because one thing I stand for is like, we can work together. Marginalized communities can work together and not against each other. There's a lot of infighting and a lot of bullshit that shouldn't be happening. And I think the trans community and the Black community really came together for a common cause, and we showed out.
That's awesome. Yeah. I know we, both Emily and I, being bisexual women, like, we've had conversations before about how, we understand that there is the infighting within, the queer community.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, if we just banded together and fought for because we're all fighting for the same thing. We're fighting for visibility. Literally. We're fighting for just to be heard. Like, if we banded together, God, we could fucking set the world on fire.
Like, yeah, we got a whole, like, there's a motherfucking like a buttload of people out there across the identities in the queer spectrum. And there's always like some shit, lesbians are not good enough, trans people are not good enough, the gays are running the world. And it's just like, can we just run the world together?
Yes.
Like, can it just stop being like white, gay, cis men, please? Thank you. And we just all work together for discoverability because we all deserve it as human beings.
Absolutely. That's and honestly, though, the fact that you were such a huge advocate and you took that time and you did the work and it showed and it made a difference, like, that's gotta feel so amazing. And like, that's inspiring to other people that, hey, look, if you actually do the work and you put your mind to this and you really advocate for the right thing, you can get shit done. You can make real change.
Absolutely, because a lot of people, and throughout all that that advocacy, I had some people that one person, it stays in my mind, even with all my memory issues. One person said to me, like, they tweeted something stupid, like, oh, everybody's talking about like what's happening in the Black community, blah, blah, blah. And I just commented on their post with like eyes, because I'm from New York. I'm always ready for the bullshit.
I know that.
So they responded, was like, oh, I knew you were going to say something. You have like X amount of followers. I only have like 500. So my followers don't matter. And I was like, excuse me? All followers matter. 1. 2, you can literally be tweeting one thing and it gets reposted years from now. You know what I'm saying? Or you can retweet one thing, or like one person retweets you. That one follower, the 500 that you have, retweets you, and then someone fucking huge retweets you, and your message gets out there. Once you're educating one person, that matters.
Yeah.
You never know the ripple effect. You never know the flame that you're gonna create. Like, you never fucking know.
I mean, I the only experience I have with that, I feel like I'm doing important work, is I'm the very left socialist of Facebook, but I refuse to unfriend the super far right-wing people in my life, because I feel like they're the ones who need to see it from me. And I've seen that pay off, like, in actual like real life tangible form. I've had people who I fought with like when Trump was elected. Specifically, there was one person when Trump was elected. I fought with this person for like days, and then finally like trying to like not be a dick about it, like trying to be like, okay, we can do this together. You can get there. I believe in you. And then like the more I just post things on Facebook, I don't just like repost, but like actually like break it down and try to like talk about it. And I've had people message me and literally be like, hey, I'm like, and act like I'm a socialist now. My sister voted for Bernie. It's like a whole thing. Like I've had that person specifically message me years later and was like, hey, that message came up in my timeline again. Like, thank you for actually taking the time to like yell at me a little bit because I needed it. Like I was being an asshole, and I'm really glad that you did that. Otherwise I wouldn't be where I am today. She now currently runs a co-op in Colorado.
That's amazing. Like, you literally never know the people that you're influencing, you know, because a lot of people are born into ignorance. I was born into ignorance. I'm Jamaican, born and raised in that country, came to America. And, you know, I've done what needs to be done. But like, I grew up in a very homophobic culture. When I first came here, I was like, I don't understand trans people. I don't understand how girls will kiss other girls. And it was the second time I came to America. The first time I was 7. So, of course, I wasn't worried about, like, kissing people. That's not true. But when I came here and I was in middle school, within, like, my first year, like, in 6th grade, I kissed a woman, and my life has been changed. You know what I'm saying? Real mood. Yeah. Like, and that's true. And even when I was doing that, I still didn't understand myself. I hated me. Because I was like, this doesn't make sense. This is disgusting. And then I met other dope-ass people that were going through the same process, the same journey, and we had enlightening conversations. And because of those enlightening conversations, my ignorance has been forever changed. You know, like I came to understand like what like self-internalized homophobia is, the importance of like trans people, the importance of queer people as a whole, like the importance of just being a person. You know what I'm saying? Like allowing people to love who they love, and it not like if it doesn't. Here's the thing: if it doesn't finance me, F me, or like feed me, it's not my business.
There you go. You can say fuck. You can say fuck me. Like you're good.
I'll repeat it. If it doesn't fuck me, finance me, or feed me, it's not my business. Period.
Yes. Put that on a bumper sticker.
That literally, I've had to say that to so many people. Like So we talked about what we wanted to talk about today, and we had some crazy dating stories. So it was one of the topics that we talked about. So the thing that happened to me yesterday was this person that I had started talking to through this dating app. They were like, they're such a fuckboy, but like, I don't know how they got past my preferences in this app because I specifically, you know, you can set age parameters. Yeah. This person was like 3 years under my age parameter. So they're 25 and I'm about to turn 35. So like I'm a whole ass decade older than this person. And I know that the older that you get, the less weird it gets, but still, it's still like,
what's your preference?
Yeah. So I don't know how they got past this, but for some reason they did. And then, so they started saying some weird shit to me yesterday that was like, just messaging me. And they were like, I think it's really hot that you're older than me. I was like, why? That's so strange. I don't like, why is that? And they were like, I don't know. It's just so hot. Like you have experience, like, and all, and like cause it also says that I'm married and, you know, polyamorous. And they were like, I think it's like, does your husband watch? And I had to correct them. That was like the third time I'd had to correct them and be like, not my husband, my partner, because I am married to a trans non-binary person. So like my partner, like, let's get that straight. Yeah. And then they were like, oh, what does that mean? And so I tried to explain the whole pronoun. I had to explain the whole pronoun thing. I had to explain the polyamorous thing. I was like, they thought I was like stepping out on my partner. And I'm like, that's not what that means. And then they started saying stuff like, I'm religious. Like, I believe like that's not, you know, you're married, but like you're talking to a married woman and you're cool with, if you're religious, like,
Yeah.
It just got really weird really fast. And then they were like, I want to meet up with you. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't think that's going to happen.
Murder you.
First of all, I don't think that's going to happen. Second of all, like, are you even vaccinated? Because I noticed that some of the stuff that they were posting was really strange. And they were like, no, I don't get vaccines. And I was like, okay, bye. Like, I literally blocked them now. That was like, oh God. But like the things that they were saying, what you said, like if it doesn't finance me, fuck me or feed me, like that just reminded me of like some weird shit they were saying. Cause like a lot of people like to like get all up in your stuff and put their ideas on you and like put their weird thoughts into your head. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
What
There's
is that
a difference
about?
between education and manipulation.
Yeah.
There's a difference between opening a space and having a conversation versus a one-sided conversation where you're literally telling me how to think without asking much. But I feel like they're asking too much and Google's a thing, so I'm confused.
Yeah, like,
right. Thank you.
Like if you're 25, and like I can understand not knowing non-binary, not knowing like much about the trans community, but like polyamory, like
it's also like
context clues.
If I'm sitting there messaging with someone who I'm like, I would maybe like to, be romantical with this person. I feel like if they texted me a word that I didn't know, I'd look it up.
Literally.
I would never admit I didn't know what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
That's
I would
weakness.
admit that like when we're getting married, like you're walking down the
we're
aisle.
close enough. I'll be like, hey, quick question. Or like you'll say something to me and I could be like, what the fuck does that mean? But like if we are just getting, I would never admit defeat. What a coward. He should Google.
That part.
That's just been my experience over the last like I think it's been like 3 weeks since I joined the dating app thing, OkCupid specifically. Not paying for it because I'm not paying for a fucking dating app. But like, so you can only message people if you both like each other. So that's like if you're not paying for the service. And so I've gotten a lot of matches that I'm like, oh, this is exciting because this person looked really cute. And then they start talking to me. Then they open their mouths, even though it's just through text, and I just get dick pics or like. So for one guy, I deleted the app a couple days ago because I was like, nope, not anymore. It's not on my phone anymore, but I still get like the email notifications that I'm getting messages. But I'm like, the opening line that this guy had after we matched was, damn that booty, I want to slap that. Does that work? I don't understand. It was like a comment on one of my photos that like, I wasn't even really showing my butt, really. I was just, like, bent, crouched down in, like, a pose.
Like the internet.
It's so weird. Either I get dick pics or your opening line is, like, really gross. And I don't understand how this is working for you.
I think that we should... Let's go down the line. And I think we should end with Ace because we know that Ace has their own story to tell. So let's, really quick, Nicole, I want to hear let's do weirdest or funniest dating story about, like, being on a site, the weirdest date you went on that ended poorly. I remember my awkward part of it last night.
I'm gonna need some time for that one.
Okay, I'll go first.
It's been a long time since I've dated. That's what I'm saying, so...
I will go first because I know mine. If he ever listens to this, I am so sorry. I'm not going to say your name, but you know who you are. I was fucked up. So again, OkCupid. Terrible app. So I was messaging with this person and I was like, okay, this should be whatever. I had a first date restaurant, which I always recommend because I knew the waiters and the staff. So like if anything happened to me, they would know. Right. Like, they would be like, oh, that's Emily. She comes in here and she gets the same thing with, like, a different guy all the time. Right. And, like, that was my MO. And, like, I felt like I had a rapport with them. And I also knew the food. And I am weird about food. So it's like, I know what I'm getting. It's also, like, it was in a place called Downtown Roswell, which is, like, it's, like, a downtown area in Georgia. it's very, very white. But it's like, it's like got the most lighting in the area, and that's why I think it's like literally one strip where it's like.
Is that where we went when we came to visit before y'all moved?
Yes.
You brought them to your date spot, bro?
No. It's like a strip of restaurants, but yes.
Fair.
Yeah, it's like the only strip in the whole area that like has bars and restaurants, so like all the white people like to flock to it.
It was very white. Yeah.
Like moths to a flame, these old women to wine. It was wild. It's the only street they let you walk around with like open carry, and so people were like, ooh.
If they ever did that, Ace and I know if they ever did that in New York, y'all, it would be, there's a reason we don't have that in New York.
Yeah. New York people are disrespectful.
Yes. But anyway, so that's the culture that we're talking about. So I get there. This dude has to be at least 6 feet tall, if not taller. This is important. You will understand why. He gets up from the bar. He has had 2 beers because I see one empty and he finishes one in front of me. High gravity beers. And I was like, okay. And then we sit down at the table and I was like, we were talking a little bit and he tells me we were talking about the menu and I was like, okay, what do you want to get? And he was like, oh, I'm vegan. I can't have anything. Okay, I sent you the menu to the restaurant before we got here. Why didn't you tell me you were vegan? We could have gone somewhere else. This is a very this is a street where we can find somewhere that has something vegan on this street. Right. And he was like, oh, well, I figured I just wanted to go where you wanted to go. And I was like, this is so weird. Okay, well then you see where this is going. He didn't get to eat. And then he has 2 more beers while we're sitting there. I have 1 because I'm a normal adult. And I was like, okay, I think this has been fun. It's time to go. And then he stands up to leave and he's so drunk, he falls over and knocks his fucking head on the table on the way down.
No.
And the waitstaff is all like, what the fuck at me? Because I'm like, they know me. And I was like, oh God, I didn't mean to do this to y'all. Okay. So like, I get this dude up from the ground and he's like, oh, I think I've just had too much. I was like, yeah, let's go find you something you can eat, dumbass. Like, let's go. And I made sure he was okay. He's not a monster. And we walk outside of the bar. Again, it's safe to do this. I cannot explain enough how crowded. There was never a time no one could see me. So I was not just walking with this strange drunk man in an alley. I need everyone to know this. So I'm like, he's so tall. And I am like holding him up. I am 5'3" maybe. He's over 6 feet tall. I'm holding him up and I get him out to a bench and we sit there for like 3 hours while he's sobered up. And I just kind of sat there and kept trying to move his hand away from my chest for like 2 hours just to make sure he was like not dead. And when he finally like seemed normal and he was like, cool. He drank water. I got him water from a restaurant. I made sure he was cool. He left and went home and I blocked him on everything.
Yo.
What is wrong with people? And then when he left, before he got in his car, he did try to kiss me and I was like, have you lost your whole mind?
That is presumptuous as fuck, even for a drunk person.
The audacity.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway, that's the worst one.
I still can't think of like...
You haven't had a weird date that went weird or sideways?
Not that I can think of, to be honest.
Okay, Cupid, you need that.
I don't. I feel like I'm a serial monogamist. Like, then that's why I can't. When I found out that we're demisexual, I was like, so much makes sense. I didn't really date. Like I would meet a guy and like literally we'd move in together like a week later. Like I got very serious very fast with people and then I would date. I've been in like the shortest relationship I've been in was like 5 months. Like I'm very
wild.
I know. I've had a couple one night stands. Like it's not like I didn't go crazy a little bit, but like it's never been okay. I do. So this is a very weird, it's not a date technically, but like it kind of is, but it's also really strange and I'm it's kind of cringy and I'm putting myself out there.
Go ahead.
I'm comfortable. So I went to summer camp as a kid I have to talk about this because it's the context of the story.
Okay.
My first year at summer camp, I was 11 years old. This is important. The junior counselors at my summer camp are 16. So that's not a huge age difference.
I hate
in terms of in terms of numbers of years, but
you're defending it too much. Go ahead.
The age difference, the 11-year-old versus a 16-year-old, that's a big maturity gap.
Yes.
Versus numbers of years.
Yes.
Flash forward to I'm 18 years old.
Thank God.
Yeah, okay. No,
okay.
I wasn't going, but it's still weird. Flash forward to when I'm 18 years old. And we go to the 100th anniversary of my summer camp. It's their 100th year being a camp. And like they invite all the alumni and all this stuff. So I'm 18 years old. I'm at my summer camp. Like I'm an adult now. So I'm like talking to these people that were my counselors when I was a camper. So this person was, when I was 11, they were 16.
And so now,
now I'm 18 and they're 23. And they were hitting on me. And so afterwards, both of us lived I lived on Long Island, they lived in Manhattan. And we ended up on the same Amtrak train all the way back down to the city. So we ended up sitting next to each other and like talking and hanging out and all this stuff. And like, he was cute. And I had a crush on him when I was 11. And now he's talking to me when I'm 18 and he's 23. And I'm like, ooh, this is awesome. This is exciting. So fast forward to like a month later, we were texting, talking. He invited me to the city to meet up with him. But at the time, my grandmother, who I was living with, wasn't comfortable with me going into the Manhattan by myself. Like on the Long Island Railroad, she was just really weird. She was very strict and weird about certain things. And so she was like, if you take a friend with you, you can go. So I took my best friend with me, who I like literally grew up with this person. Like she was my best friend from like kindergarten. We don't talk now. It's been like 6 years since I talked to her, but
not relevant. Get to the part.
Anyway, yeah. So we go to this guy. He's a full ass adult, like has an adult job, is like a CPA or something, and like has his own, like he came from a very rich family, lives in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, like nice apartment. So me and my friend go to his apartment and we hang out drinking boxed wine, I want to say, which is weird for someone that lives on the Upper East Side. I feel like you can afford better, but
cool.
Yeah,
he's giving
Barefoot's like
underage people some
$11.
wine.
Yeah, so we 18-year-olds drinking.
Cool. What a cool dude.
So then we go downstairs to smoke a cigarette, me and my friend, and we go out to the front of their apartment building. And while we're out there, my friend, we're both really drunk at this point. My friend was like, I'm feeling really left out because I can tell that you two are flirting with each other. And now I feel like the third wheel. Like, let's change that. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And she was like, let's have a threesome. And I was like, she was like, let's go back in there and like just get him into bed. And I'm drunk. I'm 18. I'm stupid as shit. I was like, okay. So we go back into the apartment and we like, no cis het man is turning down two women coming onto him. It's just not. Find me that man. Because I'll give him a medal. And so we proceeded to have sex with each other. And then the next morning, didn't tell our parents. Like, it was one of those situations where, like, I told my grandma I was...
tell your parents. I'd be confused.
No, I mean, it was one of those situations where, like, I told my grandma I was sleeping at her house, and she told her parents that she was sleeping at my house.
Murdered.
Yeah. Because I knew this person since I was 11 years old. Like, that's what, in my head, that's what I thought, that it was okay. And so the next morning, we all wake up, and I'm assuming that he was drunk, too. Because when he woke up and there's two young girls in his bed, he like flipped the fuck out and was like, this is wrong. I can't believe I did this. Like, you guys need to leave. And like proceeded to like throw our stuff like towards his door and like kick us out of his apartment at like 7:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on like a Friday, probably because he had to get ready for work. Like,
oh my God.
It was so, and then never talked to me again. And then like randomly years and years and years later added me on Facebook, and like we're Facebook friends now, but he's like lives in China and is like married and has kids and all this stuff, but like we're friends on Facebook now, but never spoke about that ever again.
What the fuck?
Yo, he was drunk as fuck.
Yep.
Like,
he must have been wasted.
That's not the reaction I thought that, like,
I
he's
thought
an
you were
asshole,
gonna say,
but like his anger, I'm just like, oh, you really didn't know what the fuck you were doing. Like, that's crazy.
It made me feel so weird. I was like, wait, what's going? I remembered. I wasn't so drunk that I didn't remember what we all did, but like clearly he was like, and I didn't see those signs. I didn't see like none of that. I felt so fucking weird the next day, like And then I never really looked at my friend the same way ever again. Like, even though we stayed friends for years after that, like, that's not why we're not friends anymore. But like, I never really looked at her the same way again.
Shitty.
I was like, this was weird. That's my only weird. Literally any other date I've ever been on was like totally normal and never ended weird. Like, I've never had any.
Wow, what a wild life.
That's like that Taylor Tomlinson comedian that's like that. I told you about that, Emily, where she's like, I asked this guy if he ever had any problems like in his life, like have you ever gone through anything? And he had to think about it for a second, and he was like, nope. And then she was like, that's peak male privilege. And also now I have to be that thing that happens to him.
Now I have to be the problem.
That's hilarious.
There's a lot of ones I can be. I can be the one that got away, or I can be the one that you tell your friends about to like stay the fuck away from. Like,
Dang.
Anyway.
Oh my god.
Ace, I know you've got some interesting stories when it comes.
I don't know how I want to do this. Like, I'll start with the one that happened this week. I was supposed to go on a date yesterday. I've been on Bumble for. I deleted it like 2 days ago, but I've been on Bumble for like a week, and I matched with this girl, but she was like 24, like into podcasts, into horror movies, into like all hiking, like has a cat, like into all this shit I'm into. All of about Black Lives Matter. She's Black, also from the city, from Brooklyn. So I'm like, oh, this could be a thing. And we started talking, we're cool and whatever. It was mad nice. And then a couple of days into it, I was like, hey, I'll take you out on Friday. Because she kept pressing the issue. She's like, oh, let's meet up. Like, I was talking to her on Friday, and then she asked me to go to like some Pride shit on Sunday. And I'm like, I have an Adidas stream. And like kept pushing it. I'm like, I have Adidas. I don't know if you know that brand. But like I have to go to that. I can't just not go. Yeah, like I'm working. Whatever. And then we got over that. She just kept asking me to go play. She's like, oh, you want to go to New York City Pride in 2 weeks? I'm like, I straight up said, I want to get to know you before I drive 3 hours with you.
That's wild. It sounds like she wants like a token to come with her to like a pass.
Yeah. It was just like, and she lives within my area. So I'm like, what? Whatever. So long story short, I hit her up because I heard that the state was reopening. Like, I'm in New York. The governor reopened everything. Yeah. And I had a lot of feelings about that, from like just being Black, being a minority, being like, I'm fully vaxxed. Backstory. Didn't want to be fully vaxxed, but I had to get fully vaxxed because why the fuck not? You know, you got to be safe. And if you want to meet people, like I just felt like I had to do it. But knowing that he was reopening, I had a lot of feelings about it. And so I went to her. I was like, hey, are you still comfortable going out on Friday night? Because we're going to go to like a seafood boil. And I'm like, I don't know if you want to have our mask on the entire time because, you know, people are going to be out here showing out now that we don't have to wear masks. And she's like, well, how would we eat? And I'm like, it was a weird question. Like, what do you mean? Like, we can have our masks on, and then when we're not eating, take our masks off. Like, it was just very off. And then one time she was like, oh, she asked me twice if I smoked weed. Both times I said yes. And then she was like, oh, that's okay. It's not a big deal. I don't smoke weed, but like, if you smoke weed, that's fine. And I was like, okay.
I know it is.
I'm perfectly fine. I'm good smoking weed. And then it just kept going. She kept saying religious shit, and I was like, I'm an atheist. And then she's like, oh, that's fine. We don't got to talk about religion now. I'm like, sounds good. And she's like, yeah, I don't believe that God is our God. And I was like, I thought we didn't have to talk about, like, I was getting confused. But anyway, back to that night where I was like, hey, are you okay going out? She's like, yeah, I'm really happy. And I want to make it known that I'm happy that he's reopening the state. Blah, blah, blah. It keeps going about it. And I'm like, I'm just trying to gauge your comfortability. Like, I didn't say if I was vaxxed. I didn't say anything. I'm just trying to see, like, where your mind's at. And I just didn't like her response because it's very demeaning without her knowing my stance on it.
Yeah.
And then I came out of nowhere. I was like, are you vaccinated? She was like, LOL, no. But I'm not an anti-vaxxer. My uncle's heart blew up from it. And I was like, I looked at my phone, like, condolences to your uncle. I honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I ever said that shit, which I probably should have. But I'm just like, now looking at it, I'm like, so this bitch is crazy because, like, how you gonna be like, I'm not vaxxed, but I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not ever getting vaxxed? Like, did the definition change? So,
did the definition change?
So I'm sitting there like, okay, cool. And then I was like trying to talk to her about it. She's like, oh, you trying to argue? I go, absolutely the fuck not. I do not argue with people. Plus, I do not know who you are to argue with you. Yeah, right? So I politely put my phone down and continue to play Dead by Daylight because bitches are crazy. Hey. I have other shit to survive for. Like these generators. So in the morning, like I talked to my boy about it. And in the morning, I was like, hey, I just want you to know I don't want to move forward with this date. And it's not because you're not vaxxed. It's just your communication skills are not there. And then I was like, is this something that you'd like to talk about? I don't mind giving you that like explanation or whatever. We talked about it. She's like, I was having a really bad day. I'm like, that's crazy because the same day I told you that my cousin was on life support and I didn't bring any of that shit to you. And I'm like, I can't be held responsible for someone else having, like, if you're having a bad day and you can't contain your emotions enough, don't text me. She's like, I didn't want to ignore you. I don't know you to care if you ignore me.
Yeah. That's fair.
People go through shit. So if you need a day from somebody that you've been only talking to for less than a week, take your day. Because, bitch, you could go away right now and I will not think about you. I have a TBI. I will not remember you. So that's my weird thing where, like, I'm just, COVID dating is weird. I deleted the app. I got more shit to focus on, like finding a new full-time job. But yeah, that's my story.
Oh my God.
Man.
I think that's a good transition though, because we're at pretty much 40 minutes here, which means we get to choo-choo into Hyperfixation Station.
Pulling in.
We have a guest here. We figured Ace would be the conductor through our Hyperfixation Station, and she just mentioned the fact that she has a TBI. And I think that's what we're about to talk about.
Hell yeah. So
Yeah.
do I just get into it?
Yeah, you just
Get into it.
All right, cool.
We're ready. I got my tea.
So I live alone. I'm 26. Flashback to like right before COVID in January. I was having a lot of relationship issues. I was dating someone that is 5 years younger than me. So she just turned 22. I turned 27 in September. Just trying to make the math sound right. And so we were going through a lot of shit, but I suggested going to couples counseling because I wanted to marry her. And couples counseling was going great. Like, we felt amazing. We were doing amazing things. And then Valentine's Day weekend, she came to see me and we went to a shop. I was the only person allowed to go into that shop. So I'm walking into the shop and I fell. Like their things weren't leveled. The steps weren't leveled. And I tripped and I knocked my head head forward, like on the front of my head. And immediately I got up because I'm embarrassed because it's on Madison Avenue. Like, Nicole, you should know where that's at. Yep. So I get up and I'm like, oh, bitch, like, what the fuck? Nobody saw that, right? And I'm wearing like a pink jacket. I'm black as fuck. I have an afro at the time. And so I have mad concerns, but then I immediately needed to pee. And I was like, I didn't need to pee before this. So I like ran out to Dunkin'. I went to use the bathroom, came back to the shop, asked the person, they saw that happen to me. They're like, no, got what I needed to get. And I went into the car and I told her, she's like, are you okay? Like, are you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Because, I'm trying to be macho, like that stud lesbian. Like, nah, I'm not going to tell my girl that I'm not okay. And she kept asking me, like, are you good? And then that was like the 14th or the 15th. And then the 17th is my mom's birthday. And I'm walking my dog. By the time now, my girlfriend at the time had left to go back to school. And I'm walking my dog. I was walking my dog down this hill. I fall on the back of my head. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I immediately got up and I'm like, ow, that hurt. Dropped my dog off because I had to drive an hour out to Kingston, New York to see my mom for her birthday. I haven't seen my mom in a while. We don't get along as much as I wish we did, but like, it's her birthday. So I go out there to say hi. So now I've hit my head twice. President's Day, I think, was a Monday. So then Tuesday, when I was supposed to go back to work, I called out. Wednesday, when I returned, I couldn't focus. My head was pounding. I couldn't do anything. And I worked on a lot of Excel. Like I worked on the computer. So that probably wasn't good. So I called my doctor. She's like, you need to go to the emergency room now. Instead of like being alerted, my job was like, so what do we do? And I was like, I'm gone. Because now my concern is like my dog, because I lived 5 minutes away from my house. So I would go home and walk my dog. I would like, do what I had to do during lunch, before, after. Just 5 minutes away. And I was lazy as shit. And I drove into work all the time. So now I'm like, what do I do? So I go to the emergency room. And I think this is the one that I went. And my friend like showed up for me. And they were like, yeah, you have a TBI. You have an MTBI, a mild TBI. You can't work right now. You can't be on computers. You can't do anything. And I was like, what do you mean? So they essentially took me out of my job for like a month to like talk to HR and everything. And I can't do shit. I'm not supposed to be driving, nothing. Like I had to rest for a month. And it was the craziest thing to tell somebody that like works really hard every single day to stop. I've never stopped before. Since I came to this country, I've never stopped. So, and it was a little bit weird. And then I obviously called upon my girlfriend, like, hey, can you travel here more? Because she went to school 5 hours away. But like, I have TBI, like, and we have a dog together now that I got because we argued once. And I was like, I know you wanted a dog and I want to love you forever. So I got you this dog that I know you love. But can you help me with this dog? Because I can't do anything. So she would come there more on the bus, and it sucked because it was a 5-hour Greyhound bus ride. But like, what could I do? I can't drive. So she would come there on the weekend sometimes. And that was putting a strain on our relationship because she kept breaking up with me every week, because she just didn't understand certain things and like kept having to remind me not to mention my exes, because I love everybody. And even if I've been with you, I'll always have love for you. And I'll always think of people as friends first. So I don't care if I have a memory, I have a memory. I talk about it. And I think that's an age thing, because most people are like okay with that now at this age. And she was 20, so she didn't get it, which is fine for that age. Maybe, right? It is weird. It was a jealousy thing, but like I was madly in love with her, so I didn't get it. So one time she came over one weekend. This was the last weekend we spent together, and I fell when we were hanging out, and she fell on top of me, and I fell on the back of my head. She fell, and her thigh was bruised. I didn't know at the time. I didn't even know I fell. So apparently what was told to me was that I started like asking for all my medications and wanting to take them because I was on a slew of mental health medications. And I don't remember anything of that night. I remember waking up alone. I and my girlfriend had went back to school, and I couldn't walk, talk, or anything. I didn't know where my clothes were. I didn't know where anything was. I was yelling for somebody that wasn't there. And the only person I was answering was my dog. So I found my phone, and I knew my friend. I remember my friend was off of work. I was like, hey, can you come get me? I don't know what's happening. I got dressed. They pulled up. I remember having to like crawl down my stairs. Like I had like 3 stairs outside, and I like couldn't even walk straight enough to get to the car. And she rushes me to the ER. They put me into a wheelchair, and they had told me to bring bring the meds I had taken. My dumbass brought all my medication. Like every single med I had was now in my book bag. So now the situation looks crazy to people that don't know. Like my friend doesn't even know what happened. Quite frankly, my friend was my mentor, my professional work mentor. So she doesn't know much about me. Like she's seen me do certain things to a level, but like now I got a full book pack of like Xanax, Prozac, all this shit. So it looks crazy. And I'm like telling my friend like, oh, I took 85. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, I took 85. That's not the truth. I had counted the amount of pills that I had before out of boredom, and I knew that I had 85. Why would the pills still be full if I took all of them?
Yeah.
So then they took all my medication from me, locked it up, and admitted me. And they were like, oh, she's overdosed, blah, blah, blah. But they couldn't pump my stomach. So I'm like, if I overdose, why can't she pump my stomach? Like, no one is figuring out what's wrong with me. I can't walk, talk. And whenever I talk, I didn't make sense. And my friend, like, I remember my other friend came, like, I remember her coming through the hospital door, and she looked at me like I was gone. Like there was no coming back for Ace. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I was going to be like this forever. And I could understand that because I didn't know what was happening. Like I knew what was happening, but what was happening wasn't matching what I was saying or doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was drunk. Eventually, it got to the point where like I would pee myself. I couldn't hold anything in. And my girlfriend never showed up for me. The doctors didn't know what was wrong. They couldn't find anything. They eventually had to call my mom. My friend had to get my dog to somewhere else. And I was in it for like 3 or 4 days. I was walking with like a crane, like a crutch thingy. They had to shower me. It was crazy. And like my friend, again, my girlfriend didn't show up for me. And her parents contacted me and they were like, oh, we don't want her there with you. And I'm like, this is weird that your parents are even contacting me about this because I don't know what you told them. My friend from Rochester, which is like 4 hours away from where I'm at, came out.
That's far.
Yeah, he came and he took me home. He had to drive all the way to where I'm at. And he's the one that took me home, which was 5 minutes away from where the hospital was. And he was like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what happened. The entire time, I didn't know I fell. The entire time, I didn't know what happened. Like, when I got discharged, they came to my room, and this is the first day I was lucid. And I was like, what am I doing here? And they're like, oh, we want to know if you were going to get admitted to a mental institution. I was like, no, like, what? Why am I here? They're like, well, you came in because you overdosed. Now we need you to sign this. I'm like, I overdosed? So I, like a dumbass, signed it because I'm here believing the doctors because I'm like, and I'm locked out. I forgot to say, I'm locked out my phone because I tried so many times to get in now that my phone's completely wiped. So I don't have any records of conversations I had, nothing. So I'm like, okay. And my friends had like, this was the one day they weren't with me because one had their fiance's birthday that day and one was getting her PhD and had to go to school. So this is a Friday. They're not thinking I was going to get out. They're like, I've been here for 3 to 4 days. Like, I need a break.
Your first lucid day. They didn't think they were going to try to kick you out.
Right, exactly. Like, my friends didn't even know that I was, like, lucid. Like, I wholeheartedly do not hold them accountable. Yeah, I don't hold them accountable for that. Yeah. You know, they took a break, and that's the day I came back. They discharged me. My friend took me home. We got my dog, and I laid there, and he stayed there with me for a couple hours. I live alone, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. So I, like, bounced back into life. My mom and my dad and my brother came to visit me. My dad and my brother lived together in Chicago. I don't fuck with my father for past abuse reasons. And my mom and I don't get along because of my homosexuality. But neither of my parents showed up when I was in the hospital. My mom came after she finished work. So for 3 days I was there. My parents weren't there. My dad showed up for one night because he didn't want to see my mom because he couldn't get over the bullshit between them two for me. He came. He brought me out drinking.
You just got out of the hospital
for a head injury.
And I literally don't like. I was in the space where I couldn't control myself. Like, okay, cool, let's go. I was in the place where people should have been taking care of me and telling me no.
Yeah.
My father did not do that. My mom came. My mom, like, and I fuck with my mom, but like, I bought a new car. I was driving everywhere. I am like my mom. Whatever. My mom and my brother eventually left, and I went to go pick up my friend. Now, this is a friend that when she walked in, she saw me and she thought I was done. And I'm like, she didn't know I got a new car. Nobody knew anything because I didn't know who knew I was in the hospital, nothing. So I like go to drive to pick up my friend. She's like, oh, you got a new car? And I'm like, yeah. She looked at me. She's like, yo, I thought you were going to be dead, bro. Like straight like that. She was like, I thought that you were gone. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I pulled over and she told me everything. And that was the first time that I heard this. Mind you, I had been talking to my girlfriend since I came out of the hospital, and she did not tell me once any of that happened.
What?
So then I was like, I hit my head, and we went out, and like, now I'm like, I don't want to drink. Like, I had one beer, and I was like, now I know what happened. I'm like, I don't want to be around drugs. I don't want to be around alcohol, and let me clarify, not bad drugs. Yeah. I used to smoke a little weed. I don't care. I'll say that. I'm not employed at the moment, whatever. And so I didn't want to do anything because I'm like, I don't know what happened. And then eventually I got my girlfriend on the phone and she started crying. She's like, I'm so sorry I had to leave you. I had a midterm. And like for 2 months, she would cry whenever it came up. She would cry every time I spoke about it. And I wouldn't remember our conversations. So just to make it a little bit shorter, flash forward from like the May first week of May, and then COVID happened. Like COVID, we went into lockdown right after I came out of the hospital. And so that was already like a culture shock. And now my girlfriend can't come see me because her parents won't let her leave the house, obviously. And so I'm relearning how to do things on my own, and I don't have anyone. No one's going to come help me during COVID. We didn't know what was happening. My mom left me here. She was like, if you can't be straight, I don't want you in my house. So I had to be alone. And she wanted me to get rid of my animals. That's not happening. And so fast forward to May, I think something happened. Like she said something and I took it as a joke because I don't know. At the time, I didn't remember how to read emotions. So I took it as a joke and I was like, oh, I'm going to tell your dad. This is a joke I always did in the relationship because I had connections with her father. Like we were all really cool. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to tell your dad, LOL. She gets pissed and breaks up with me. She's like, I'm tired of this shit. You're mad manipulative. I was like, I was joking. Mind you, this entire time for the last 2 months, I don't remember much because I don't remember what I'm saying. All I remember saying is, hey, I need time to heal. Please give me that. I know I'm being an asshole sometimes. I know I'm being amazing other times. I know I'm being confusing, but I literally just hit my head 3 times and I forgave you for you being the reason why I am the way I am right now. Because the first time I hit my head, I was okay. The third time, we didn't know what was going to happen. The third time happened because my ex left me alone.
Like, yeah, like just dipped after you hit your head.
Yeah. So like I forgave her and I still have no bad ill will in my heart for her, whatever. I still really do love her.
Man, I got all the ill will you need, bro.
So to know that she broke up with me, and then I asked her, like, why are you doing this? She's like, because of your head injury. And I was like, that's crazy because you gave this to me. And for months, I didn't remember that we had broken up. So every single day I was texting somebody that wasn't going to text back. So every day I had to start writing it down that I had been broken up with. And one time I got on Tinder, I was like going crazy and I saw her and I was like, I'm going to where she lives. And I go to her house and I get there and like her friend calls me. It was like, hey, I'm going to cause physical harm to you. And I'm like, what's going on? So I'm sitting there confused. Like my ex wouldn't talk to me. And I don't think she was translating to people that I had a brain injury and I was being impulsive. Like, this is a literal side effect of having a brain injury. Long story short, I got out of that situation. I came back and I just been alone all of COVID. Like, just, I ended up like my friend, the one friend, she got her PhD. And one time we went hiking because she ended up moving to North Carolina with her boyfriend. And I kept tipping over. She's like, I have something to tell you after we're done hiking. And I was like, all right. And in the car, she was like, I need you to get checked for vertigo. And I need you to do it now. So I was like, okay, I never considered that. And I was hanging out with 2 people. One of them had 2 children. And I was laying on their couch one time because they asked me to sleep over because the kids love me. Her kid kicked me in the head while I was sleeping. And for a regular person, that might not have been that bad. For me, it was my last day at a toxic job. And I now had severe headaches and I couldn't understand what was happening. And instead of saying sorry, they were like, oh, you want breakfast? Oh, can we wait till we eat breakfast? Like these 2 people that should have been my friends didn't do what needed to be done. Like I just got kicked in the head. There's an ER around the corner. Could somebody take me? Like, so eventually I calmed down enough for where I like took myself home and one of the friends home. And I got into a doctor's appointment on Monday. And then I had physical therapy for, I think it was my birthday weekend. So like for 3 months, I relearned how to walk. And it was the most frustrating thing because I was constantly tipping over before and never really understanding. But I had severe vertigo as a result of what my ex did.
Jeez. Like if she had like immediately brought you to the hospital and she would have been able to tell them what had happened instead of them thinking that you were overdosing and all this other stuff. Like they would have been able to treat you for exactly what you needed to be treated for instead of just like
guessing.
Yeah. Basically, because you don't know, because you're so out of it that you can't tell them what happened. All she had to do was just, even if she was going to dip, all she had to do was take you there. Like,
like drop you off at the hospital and then go off to your midterm.
She told her parents that I overdosed. She told her parents, and here's the thing, I admit that I did do certain things that night, but not beyond what I usually do. It's the added fact of me hitting my head while doing those things I shouldn't have been doing. that I thought should be given more light to, because this is nothing different from what I did any other fucking weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's different when you're doing it with head injury, and I acknowledge that. But I'm not saying I'm not at fault. I just don't think the fault is 100% mine.
No. Like, no. Literally all this person had to do was, after someone hits their head, and it's not the first time they've done this.
Within 2 weeks. Is
bring them to the hospital. You don't just pack your shit and leave, like, just dip.
I wholeheartedly to this day, like, I'll never understand that breakup, because that's somebody I was, like, engaged to.
Yeah, you guys had been, you said you had been together for a few years at this point. That's wild.
2 years. And the person that you want to spend you've said you want to spend the rest of your life with falls and hits their head.
And you don't bring them to the hospital.
You just, after they've already hit their head twice, like, you're aware of all of this, they fall and hit their head again, and you're like, man, I got a test tomorrow. I gotta get my sleep. Like, what?
I broke up with me on Mother's Day, and when the whole thing happened with George Floyd, and when COVID was happening, never once checked in on me.
Damn. My also question, when you got out of the hospital, you called her and were like, hey, this crazy thing happened. Do you have any insight? And she was like, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't tell you. Like,
yeah, I think it was just like, I came out and I think we just had a conversation. She's like, oh, are you okay? And then I just moved on from the situation out of embarrassment. I feel like that's something I would have did, like, hey, I don't really want to talk about this, or like, whatever. We just start talking about movies or whatever, like we usually do. And then one day I was like, hey, Celeste told me I hit my head. Did you know that? And then she was like, yeah. And I was like, what happened? I was with you? And she told me the whole story. And I sat there, I looked at her, I was like, so you just left me there? And she started crying. And I was like, I don't understand. And then she would be pissed anytime I brought it up. And I'm like, I'm not allowed to bring up how you left me there. And the crazy thing is, I never once broke up with her, guys.
Yeah,
I never once broke up with her.
You had every right to, and
I could have sued.
Yeah. Wow.
And I never considered it, nothing. I wanted that relationship more than anything, more than life itself, apparently.
Jeez.
Did she leave you on the floor, or did she at least, like, take you to a bed or something?
So I was moving around in the bathroom. I apparently locked myself in the bathroom with all my medication. When I woke up, I was on the bed naked.
And don't have any recollection of, like, wow. Okay.
Mm-mm. But she didn't cause harm to me in that way.
No, yeah.
No,
that's not what I meant.
No, I know what you meant. I was, like, clarifying for the podcast.
Yeah.
That it was okay that I woke up naked, y'all.
So she either left you locked in the bathroom or left you on the bed.
Yeah.
I don't know of how I got to the bed.
Oh, my Lord.
And just went, I haven't been to. That's some wild shit. And I'm very glad that is not the person that you ended up with forever, because clearly they have a lot of problems that they need to take care of internally before they can actually, love someone else, I think. Because that's a lot. Yeah. That's a thing. That's a monster thing. That's like that's not a normal person thing to do. Yeah. Just, even if it wasn't someone you were dating. I just told a story about someone I didn't like. Right. It was a first date, and I still was like, I don't want you to die.
Right. Yeah. And
this is the person who knew for 2 years.
I'm like, I don't know if she wanted me to die. Like, I don't know how deep that ran. I don't know the cause of it. I don't know anything. But, like,
that's
at least call the hospital. I don't know. I don't wish anything bad on her. I still really do love her. She'll always be like the love of my life in some capacity, my best friend in some capacity. I haven't spoken to her in like a year and change. I don't know anything about her. Like, I don't have her on social media. I don't go looking for it because I know that would hurt me. So I'm pretty sure she's happy with somebody else. But like it just, I don't know. I hope there's a day that it sparks to her what she did, and she tries to open the avenue for a conversation, because whenever I've done it, I've just gotten like threatened physically, and I don't think that's appropriate.
But that speaks again to your character versus her character, whereas like this person did do harm to you, and you're still like saying like I wish them well and I hope they're happy. but this person, like, she still hasn't reconciled, like, with what she did. There's no accountability. There's no apology. Mm-hmm. There's no, like, that's you are the good person in this scenario.
Yeah, two outside perspectives.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I had a lot to I'm not over it at all, but I had a lot to recognize. Like, I was told it took 6 weeks it took a week for her to get over me. And for me, it was okay if I didn't survive. It was okay if my mom didn't survive COVID. It was just like a lot of hurtful words that she knew that would get me. And because I know this person more than most people, I know that those words weren't her own. And I know that other people planted seeds in her mind about us. But that's also because people didn't know the entire relationship. Yeah. See, my friends don't wish her any ill will, or the friends I do have left, they're just also confused because they knew everything. We only really hung out with my friends because she was in college, so I would go visit there, but like her friends would want to hang out like with me. I'm older, whatever, I'm not trying to hang out with y'all, but like my friends are older, so like we could go drink, we could go do whatever, and we'd just chill in my house, like we don't have to worry about an RA. So my friends knew her. And we're all just a little bit confused, but that doesn't mean that I wish her anything bad. I wish all her relationships, all her platonic friendships, her familial relationships well. And I miss her every single day, but that's not somebody that's willing to open a conversation with me.
Yeah, that just speaks to your character, though, that you're like a good person.
Well, I can't say I wish her well, but I can say that I hope that she's never with someone who would leave her locked in the bathroom.
Absolutely.
When they have a midterm. I hope that she never encounters someone who's that much of a monster. God.
That's true. I think midterms can be made up for extraneous situations.
Yeah.
So.
Dear God, I can't. It's like the leaving you just to go because there's a test situation, like.
And then the world got shut down right after, which was kind of crazy. Because if she had just stayed with me, like, we probably would have been quarantined together. It would have been great for our relationship, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And got to the point where, like, I didn't remember I had to sign a lease. So I was like, should have an apartment.
Oh my gosh. So now, like, flash forward to, like, a year later. How is it with... You're still dealing with the side effects from the TBI and all that stuff. Like, you still have the memory loss. And is there, like, what's that like for you? Like, what's life like now? Now that we're opening back up, now that we're opening back up and we're, like, getting out of COVID, like, what does life look like for you now?
So life is difficult. Every single day I wake up, it's very hard for me to wake up. It's also very hard for me to know my purpose in life. I suffer from severe depression, PTSD, and anxiety. And now I'm not on medication, so I have to do things holistically. So I find different avenues to find that happiness. Social media is that for me. But regardless of the fact, very difficult for me to wake up and get out of bed and feel motivation to like even like feed my animals, if I'm being very honest with you. But I do it anyway because, they depend on me and it helps bring me into like perspective of having responsibility. Because if I feed them, I got to feed me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to get the day going. But
animals are great for that.
Yeah, exactly. So I would never give them up because they've held me down throughout this entire process.
Yeah.
I walk better. You wouldn't know that I have any issues, but I do stay clear of like things that will trigger my vertigo. So like repetitive things. Like I hate driving now, and I used to drive all the time. I used to drive from Buffalo to Queens like every weekend, like from Albany to Buffalo every weekend. Like I would be in the city all the time. Now I'm just like, it's just the highway makes me dizzy. And when I get dizzy and I get headaches are memory loss for me. So I lose periods of time. So I have to be very careful. And not a lot of people understand it. I'll be in bed for hours and people are like, just get up. And I'm like,
I don't understand. I fucking can't.
I can't. Like, I haven't, like, because on top of all that, I have insomnia. So if I could rest for a second, I'm going to do that. Because I'm always on the go. And I think my content shows for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm always doing something. I throw my all into my work. And I actually just quit my full-time job because they were not respecting my disability the way that I needed them to. Not saying that, like, they were okay, but there were certain things that I was being marked less on because it was harder for me to do that, and they didn't understand that it was harder for me to do certain things. And instead of me sitting there and going through a whole process of probably being fired in 3 months, I said, I have to go and find something that understands me or take a little space so I can understand myself so I can come back to the professional experience holistically. Because right now I'm not ready for that. Because I was in a toxic job. And the funny thing is, I won't say my job, even though I'll say it's been said on social media, but I used to work for certain government individuals, entities. And I remember one time my boss, when I was in the hospital at one time, showed up at my bedside table to talk about my evaluation.
No.
And
What?
Granted, he was bringing me my HR paperwork. HR couldn't find me. They needed my health insurance not lapse. I get that. But maybe don't mention anything about my evaluation, and also don't mention that I'm going to be dinged because I haven't been there while you sit on my hospital bed.
I'm sorry. They had an employee evaluation while you were in a hospital room.
They told me that they didn't do the full evaluation. I think I asked a question about, how's my evaluation going to be? Some dumb shit. And instead of not answering, they're like, yeah, you're probably not going to get higher marks because you haven't been around during when we need people the most. And I literally, it didn't hit me in the moment, but like a week later, I was like, yo, that dude really sat there and said that shit while I was in my hospital gown with my hairy ass legs.
Emily is literally about to fucking
That's like
losing my mind.
So I lost that toxic, I didn't lose the job. I quit that job. And when I started my new job at the time, I only, the weekend was a difference. I stopped that one on Friday, started a new one on Monday. So I didn't really rest. So this entire time in this new job, I'm like, I have to take time off every fucking week damn near because something's up with my brain. And I went to go get some studies, and they came out with the fact of my brain is really tired. It's just exhausted from everything. And again, I wasn't supposed to be here. I seriously, I don't know what the appropriate word is, but I was supposed to be comatose. The ignorant word is a vegetable. People say that, but that was my prognosis. I wasn't supposed to make it. So to know that I did, and my brain is still working, it's a lot. So little tasks for other people is very difficult for me. Streaming is one of them. The lights throws me off. Right now it's perfectly fine because it's being I have lights everywhere, so it's not just centered here. But when I stream in the nighttime, my head hurts all the time. So I have this new persona where I wear my sunglasses, and people might think I'm being a fuckboy or being funny, but it actually helps with my brain injury.
Honestly, I swear to God, if I was ever watching your stream at night and you were wearing your sunglasses, some dumbass said some shit, be like, who the fuck? Even if you didn't have a brain injury and that you just wanted to, who are you to say? Yeah. Anything about what their eye got.
This light that I have, this Keo, as much as I like it, I got annoyed because I thought I could make it a warmer light. This is just that. It's that very bright.
It is. It hurts my fucking eyes so bad.
And it hurts. It gives me a migraine. I can't even imagine if I was more prone to migraines.
Yeah, exactly. A migraine for me, a headache, that's memory loss. I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do it. Absolutely wear sunglasses. Yeah. It's either that or you don't stream at all. I'd rather have your content.
I appreciate that.
People that don't have chronic illness, people that aren't chronically ill, people that don't have a disability that isn't visible, they don't understand. Because I have a non-visible disability. I have keratoconus, and that causes me, I'm legally blind, but I have contacts that can help get me back to where I'm under the government's I'm able to drive because of my the corrective lenses. So I have a disability that people don't see, and I have to wear contacts because the brightness, it hurts my eyes too much. I can't do, so I wear sunglasses when it's bright, when things are bright and stuff like that, and people look at me weird, and I'm just okay, whatever, I don't.
Isn't your eye is shaped? I was gonna say wrong. That's not right.
It is so. It's what's happening is on the way your eye is made up, you have the iris, and then over the iris you have the cornea. Your corneas are held onto your eye by protein molecules. This disease breaks those protein molecules down, and so the cornea is detaching from the eye and it's coning out. So it's bulging like a fish. So when the light that's refracting into your iris It's not hitting your brain properly. It's scattering everywhere because it's misshaped. So
That's
the contact lenses that I have, not covered by insurance, they cost like $1,000 each contact.
They're special contacts.
Are topographically mapped to my eye specifically to push it down to lay as flat as it can on my eyes so I can see things.
An eye binder.
Yeah, but like it's just, and Emily has a chronic illness that like isn't visible and is dealing with like yeah, I'm just like, that's what I'm saying, like people that don't understand, like people only can see disability as like this person's in a wheelchair, so it's their disability is obvious, or this person has like, you know, is missing limbs. These are obvious disabilities. Like it's, but they're not the only types of disabilities. Like,
yeah.
It's
like,
funny. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it.
It's just, you sparked a nerve in in an interesting way, because a lot of people, it's not the motherfuckers that are not disabled, it's the motherfuckers that are disabled and gatekeep the identity that get us. Because a lot of times I might not use what they deem correct terminology, but I have announced various times that I'm coming into my identity as someone that is disabled now. You know, like, so yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit ignorant in the beginning. I stand by that, but I'm growing. I didn't ask for you to educate me because I got Google. I got experiences. And I grew up in a space where my mom works with individuals with disabilities, mostly mental disabilities. But like I've seen it my entire life. So let me say what I gotta say in order for me to come to myself. But those are the motherfuckers that get you, because it's the ones that like, you're supposed to understand.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be my brother or my sister, and you're not doing that right now. It's crazy. I don't get it. It's
so true. Like, okay, so I don't know if you've ever been to New York Comic Con specifically, or cons in general, but like every year for the last couple of years, like I've been going with my partner, and I used to go by myself. They have a pass that you can get for people with disabilities. It's just like an extra sticker that you put on your badge to like denote that you have a disability, and they allow people with disabilities to like get in a separate line, and they let those people in first into like panels and things like that. I have a fucking disability, and because I'm blind, like I need to be as close as possible to the stage or the screens of whatever I'm going to watch because I can't see. And I've been like at these Comic Cons every year. I get the badge. Like they don't ask you for identification necessarily because that's against HIPAA rules. But people have literally told me to my face, other disability members of the disability community at cons have looked me dead in the face and said, you're scamming them. You don't have a disability. Like, you're just taking advantage of this badge, like, so you can get in front of the line. I'm like, excuse me? Are you kidding me? Like, and you're right. People, like, how can you, as someone who is in this community and has been discriminated against due to your disabilities, be fucking talking shit to someone that hasn't, like, it's not, it's just, I mean, you see it in every community. You see it in the queer community, you see it in the,
that gatekeeping.
You see it's that infighting, that bullshit of like, we all have one thing that we're fighting for, which is visibility, respect, and honesty, and like, while still being held accountable for our actions, and a lot of motherfuckers are not allowed, like, they're not allowing space for that. They're like, no, only my disability matters. And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, let's go off on like people with X, Y, Z. But I am saying that all members of each community should fuck with all members of their community, regardless of where they fall on that spectrum. Whether they're like, what if one was like disabled, like just disabled, and 10 was like chronically disabled. Wherever they fall from that 1 to 10, they are fucking disabled.
Yeah. Like, period. That exactly. And like oh God.
And there's a lot of things that you can't actually see, and the fact that you would be in that community and not understand that is absolutely wild. Like I went to go help my friend in Oregon a couple weeks ago because she was diagnosed with MS. And it was a really big deal. And I had the privilege of driving my friend and her kids from where they lived in Oregon, which is very far east, all the way to Portland. So it was about a 3-hour drive. And we get there and we get to the hotel. Like we were there for her to get a special infusion, that she needed. Her kids needed a special infusion. It was a whole thing. And so we get there to the hotel that we're supposed to be staying at, and we can't find parking. And there was they ask her, like, do you want to put like a thing in your window, like so that you can just park here in this handicap spot, which is like right next to the door. And she was like, no.
Yep. Nope.
Even though she has it as she's not supposed to be walking very far. She's not supposed to be like using her muscles to lift shit.
Exactly.
And I was like, I had to look at her and be like, you have to get that, Erin. And she was like, well, I don't need it, because she was like, I don't need it all the time. I only need it when I'm having a flare. And I was like, that still means you need it sometimes. And so you should have it. You can take it. If you are weird about it, you can just take it off when you don't need it and use it when you need it. But like, you deserve that. You deserve to have that. You deserve to live a normal life. And if the best way to do that for you is to park a little closer to the store so that you don't have to spend the whole next day on the couch because you overworked yourself by carrying the groceries too far, take the spot. Yeah. And a lot of the times it's fear over not just what the general public would say, but it's like the fear of I'm taking that away from someone who really
I'm not
needs
disabled enough.
Yeah, I'm not disabled enough. Like
I'm tired of the enough shit. Like, oh, you're not this enough. You're not that. I am who I am, and that is more than enough for me. Period.
Yep.
But I understand that though, because that's also a pride thing. Like, I didn't even open the conversation for me to get that pass. I don't think I would completely qualify because like I went to PT, like my vertigo isn't like always flaring up or whatever. But if they ever asked me, I think I would say no. I know I would say no. And it's a pride thing.
I get that.
100% a pride thing. Like, because that would solidify everything, and I'm just not ready for that conversation.
It's
because
true.
A lot of people don't understand, and then I'm like, oh, no one's gonna want to date me. No, like these are the thoughts that would go through my head. That's my experience, and they do go through my head because I have to disclose that to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and quite frankly, I could pretend that it's not a thing, and I could go on dates and I could do this. But if you're talking to me, right? We're on a date, right? Emily, we're on a date. You're talking to me. You're like, yo, this is what I like. This is my favorite color. 2 minutes later, I ask you the same question. It looks like I'm not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
You could be the most beautiful person in the room to me, and now it looks like I'm not paying attention to you because I forgot something and didn't disclose that I have a TBI and I have memory issues.
Here's a fun fact. I have ADHD, so I wouldn't have remembered you said it either. I would have been like, it's great.
Here's a fun fact. I have CPTSD, so I would have just answered your question and kept moving on so that I wouldn't bring attention to the fact that, like, anybody did anything wrong because I'm uncomfortable with making people uncomfortable.
That's sexy. We all got our shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so, God, man. I think one of the things I'm most, like, nervous about is that with like everything opening back up, like everyone feels some type of way about it. The reason Cuomo did it for New York State, Emily, if you're unaware, is because we're now at over 70% of our population. So like that's why, and that just happened like literally this past week. And now he's lifting all of pretty much every fucking restriction except for like healthcare facilities. Those are the only ones that you still have to wear, or facilities can still choose to keep their mask mandates up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I haven't. I know. Believe me, we all have our feelings on it.
I have feelings because I worked in retail. If anyone who works in retail or with the public, and you have to tell someone to put their mask on because you're we require it, but the state doesn't require it.
Like it's a whole thing.
Sir, please put it on, and the person gets yelled at and murdered.
It's a whole thing. Like it's been. I've had in the last like 2 weeks, I've had 4 different instances at different stores of like people standing way too fucking close to me and not respecting the fucking the squares on the floor. People literally asking people to back up and being like, well, I'm vaccinated. You don't need to worry about it. That's not how this works. Like, you can still get it and give it to people. Stop
I also would just like to say, I want to keep that. I like the fact that when I go to stores, people stand 6 feet away from me. I want to keep that one.
Personal space. Get the fuck away from me.
Vaccinated, you don't want to wear a mask or whatever. Honestly, okay.
But
stand 6 feet away from me.
Stay the fuck away from me.
That part.
Should still stay away from me.
That's that like part. We've all collectively, as a human race, been traumatized by this experience, COVID.
Absolutely.
And now that we're opening back up, it's like I forget how to do things. Like I'm forgetting how to be like I forget how to interact with people. Like I have to remember how to not be super fucking awkward. And like we went out for the first time like 2 weeks ago to a bar to meet up with some friends for trivia, which we hadn't done in well over a year. And the whole time I kept sitting there thinking like, this feels weird.
Yo,
like,
I feel that.
This is wrong.
All of it felt wrong and weird. Yeah. None of us were wearing masks and we were all sitting pretty close together in this tiny bar. And like, that's more like a fucking beatnik cafe type style place. Like, God, the anxiety was so real. If we were outside, I feel I probably, like, I'm going to a baseball game next week with my mom. And we're sitting in, like, you have to be vaccinated in order to go to these games. So, like, that, I'm cool with that. Like, it's a whole bunch of vaccinated people. Fine. I think I'll be less anxious because it's a huge, we're outdoors. It's a huge outdoor open space. Like, I'm not going to be as terrified, but still the thought of being in a very crowded place is freaking me the fuck out.
That part. Like I got drinks with now my previous coworkers on Thursday, I think, and we went to Brown's and we were talking about that. There's an outside spot to Brown's. But like I walk in, no, I didn't even walk in. I was like, hey, where are you guys? Forgot my mask in the car. I still wear my mask. I've been fully vaxxed for like a month or two.
Oh, we still do
I wear
too.
my mask. Yeah, like out of respect for other, like I just like wearing my mask.
I don't want anyone to think that I am a Republican.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I forgot my mask, and my friend was like, yo, it's fine. We're going to be outside, which they didn't say anything wrong. I was lazy. I didn't want to go back to my car. They were like, they're right. So I go upstairs, and, like, it just looked like COVID never happened. Nobody's wearing their mask. It's crowded as fuck at the bar. Everybody's outside just chilling. We eventually get a seat, and half the time I just spent it people watching. I'm like, yo. Because now I can't be mad at them because I'm doing the same thing. Like, I came in here with no mask too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, like, that shit just seemed like COVID never happened. And I don't think that's how it should be. No. At least from a policy standpoint. Because that's where my education lies. That doesn't seem right. Like, at least still have it. Like, at least still have hand sanitizers. If you are a employee and you're interacting with my food, you're interacting with my order, you're interacting with me, motherfucker, please have a mask on.
Yeah.
You don't know if I'm vaxxed. You don't know why or why not I'm wearing a mask at this table. I don't have to wear a mask when I'm sitting down. But if you're coming to me, you should be wearing a mask.
100%. There's so much that, like, Emily, you posted that meme the other day on Facebook that Joe also shared, that Joe commented on, where it was like, oh, America, we're opening back up again. Oh, no, you're not ready. We're not ready. Like, we're not okay. Like, we shouldn't be doing, like, this is not, like, it's... We were traumatized, like, this is not okay. And then it's like, no, but you're ready. Yeah.
No, but can we talk about what happened?
That part, though.
Yes. No, we're not going to talk about it again. We're just going to throw you out there.
It's funny, because by the time this releases, I want to see what happens. Because I've said it for a couple months now. I could see us going back. Because there was a different strain for a little bit. And I feel like people stopped talking about that. It was definitely... Like, in Saratoga, there was, like, so, I don't care. I used to live in Albany. I live somewhere outside of Albany now. But I used to live in Albany, New York, the state capital. And my friend at the time got COVID. He was out. Like, he was in the ER. He was coughing up blood, all this shit. God. This is a motherfucker I was with, like, bubble. Like, every day we hung out. So I get a little bit anxious. My mom had just gotten over COVID. My little brother got COVID for his 17th birthday. So I'm sitting in my bed like, yo, what's going on? And then I start coughing. I start getting sick. I start not being able to concentrate. So then I got like a COVID test like 3 times because UAlbany was just giving that shit out for free. And I was freaking out because at one point my boss literally said, I was on a team meeting. They said, hang up and go rest now. Like, not even in a disrespectful way, but more of like, you're pushing yourself more than you need to right now. And all my tests came back negative. And I kept like basically crying to my boss, like, I'm not lying. She's like, no, I know you're not lying because I've heard you. And then in my head, I'm like watching the news, not in my head, I was watching the news or some shit. And Saratoga Springs, which is like an hour out or so from Albany, they had a different strain for a hot minute.
Yeah. Everybody
was concerned. And I sat there like, yo, I probably had that shit. Whatever they were testing for COVID positivity, wasn't that shit. Because I was out of commission. Like, I could not do anything.
So they just recently, literally just read it this morning in my email. It was like one of those CDC update type emails that I signed up for. And they're calling it the Delta strain. That it's the one specifically, I don't know why they're calling it that, but it's called the Delta strain.
Sounds
and it's right. It's specifically the one that's happening in India. Is starting to reach the United States.
Well, and you didn't know that was going to happen.
They're like warning that the Delta strain is going to cause a new wave. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm laughing because this is crazy to me. Because why would you open up New York of all fucking states where motherfuckers love to visit?
Yeah.
Love to visit. Like, even if you visit somewhere else, you interact with somebody else in New York or somebody that's coming to New York, I'm only rooting for my state right now, but I do believe that all people deserve to be healthy. But I'm just saying, like, that's ridiculous to me that they would even consider reopening when there's still a Delta strain. So that means there was Alpha, Beta, like, I don't even know, Alpha, Beta, Delta?
Charlie.
I don't know my Greek letter. Yes. I don't know.
I don't know. Is there like the Alpha, Beta, Charlie? Then there's a Delta. Like, are there that many fucking strains?
You are mixing up. That is not.
It's not. I know. It's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta.
What am I like? What? You're mixing the Greek alphabet
with the military. No, it's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. My dad's a Marine. I know it. I was. This is what I do.
I went to look at my phone because I thought I was like, fuck it. I was like.
No, I don't know. I have no idea what they're calling the other. No, you're not. I just confused the shit out of Emily. No, but like your whole ass right. New York City, one of the most visited places in the entire fucking world, is completely open. As if we're not still living in a fucking pandemic-driven world where there are multiple strains of this shit, where we're still doing testing on these vaccinations to see what, like, we don't know what the long-term effects of COVID are.
We also don't know how long the efficacy of the vaccination lasts.
I was just going to say, my little Excelsior Pass thing in my wallet that I have says that it expires in September, exactly 6 months from when I got my second dose.
Yeah.
So does that mean I'm going to have to get a booster? And if so, are you making that appointment for me, or is that something I got to do? Like, where is the information on that?
The CDC has a bunch of, they do have briefings during the White House briefings, like the press briefings. They started to have White House CDC briefings. So basically like the head of the CDC, the head of the task force, they all sit there to answer questions from the press. And if you haven't seen them, they are dull as all fuck, but they are important. There is important information. It's great, but it is an hour long. And God, some of the questions are so stupid because it's just basically, do we have to wear masks still? Do you believe that this is an infringement on our rights, Dr. Fauci? And it's like, shut the fuck up, Chad, from Fox News. No one cares. Like, give me a different person asking your question. So, like, finally, like, but then other people, important people, ask actual questions. Like, are we going to get a booster shot? What about the Delta strain? Is this effective against that? And it does show, from what I understand, it does still work against the Delta strain. You can still get it. You can still get sick, but you most likely will not die with it or be hospitalized. That's the important part to keep people out of the hospitals, unless you are older. Again, this all changes if you are super old or if you are immunocompromised and cannot get the vaccine, like my friend with MS that I was just talking about. She still, both of her kids still have to wear masks and stuff at school. And like other kids, they relax the mask mandate at school, but her kids can't because her kids, she has MS. Like, her kids can't bring, and the other thing is maybe her kids don't go to school, so she doesn't work, so she can't pay the medical bills that she has now. Like, y'all.
Who's watching those kids? Because I'm gonna be honest, if someone was a teacher, that's a lot of motherfuckers to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I gotta remember that you got MS. You know, you would hope that the human race is so kind to remember that.
Yeah.
But like, that's a lot of people that teachers are wrangling around.
Yeah, so she's had to like instill in her children, like, you do not take your mask off at school, period.
Yeah, ever.
And they have to abide by that, even though they see their friends running around without them on. They have to keep theirs on because Aaron has MS. And so, you know, what are you going to do about it? Like, their mom, they can't bring this home. And so, like, that it's still a problem. But from what I understand, the vaccine itself does protect at least against death or hospitalization from the Delta strain. But yes, as far as we understand right now, we will all need to get a booster if this continues, which it will if people keep opening things up like this.
That's the biggest problem, is that, like, nobody's on the same page about it all.
No.
Everyone's doing all their own fucking things. And, like, there's no just, like, every other, like, major country in the world handled this with so much more grace.
Garbage too,
Some
though.
of them. I mean, the UK definitely didn't handle it well. Like, if only we could be like
interesting too.
Yeah, if only we could be like New Zealand. I feel like New Zealand is like the greatest basis of what all societies should act like.
They shut down, paid everyone to stay home, and then it was gone from their country in like a couple months. And then they opened and went about their regular days while we were still in like millions dying. Like, what the?
Right.
But we don't know the best way to fix it. We don't know. Who knows?
Lock the shit back up and fucking restart. Like, I don't think they should have even considered reopening. I think we should have stayed under that whole, like, lockdown for at least 2 years. That might be pushing it, but, like...
And then pay us all to do, like, give us money...
To stay home.
To be...
Yeah.
You're literally let millions of people die because you refused to, like... it's just so unfathomable to me. I can't. That they let millions of people die for selfish reasons. For capitalistic, like, selfish ass. God.
And there's also a lot of loopholes where like, if you don't have your will set up a certain way when you die, your Social Security that you've been paying into goes back to the government. So there's also that where they get a lot of money because a lot of people died at their hands. So that's super fun. Make sure
they got
you know
kickbacks for death.
Yeah, they got kickbacks for people dying. So it's like,
that's crazy.
Money, redistribute that. How about no? Okay, that's what I thought.
That's crazy, yo.
Anyway, AOC should be running for president.
That part.
She can.
My mouse died.
She'll be old enough in the next election.
Yeah. Honestly.
We just had to wait till she turned 35.
Yeah, Joe can go.
Which makes it wild that, like, literally next month I could be old enough to run for president. Like, that freaks me out.
That freaks me out.
I'm never allowed to run for it, and that's crazy to me.
Oh, because
I'm a naturalized citizen. I wasn't born here.
Oh, but you can run for any other office. That's what's really confusing.
Except not president, because that's the one.
Yeah, like, why did
that's the one that we need a fucking authentic American. Like, what?
That is so gross. I forgot about that for a second.
So
like,
weird.
It is weird. Yeah. You literally, especially for an office that, in all intents and purposes, is very ceremonial in a lot of senses. Like, but you'll let everyone run for the ones that actually govern our country.
Oh yeah, that's the ones that actually make change. Because the president's just a figurehead.
Yeah,
with power. I won't say that they don't have power.
Yeah, no, but a lot of influence comes from local governments.
Yes.
And then
and state governments.
But you won't but like it's almost like the Captain America thing, like with like, you know, the new show, and how like Sam was so afraid that people wouldn't accept him because, you know, Captain America stands for one thing, and he being a black man, he couldn't, like, you know, I can't be that. That's not what it was. So it's like, it's almost like people are like, the president has to be this specific thing and it can't be anything else, which is so weird and icky to me on a country that, like, is literally, what do we call it? A melting pot, which I think is a weird word.
Well, it's also gross because, like, the idea of a melting pot is that everything comes together in just, like, one amalgamation of it's all one thing. And it's like, oh, no, we are more like a chunky veggie soup. We got a lot of different things going on, a lot of flavors, a lot of textures. And it's better to see that rather than blend it all up and suck it down like they're different.
I would 100% vote for a person, regardless of whether they were a naturalized citizen or they were born. Like, if you came to America and you did whatever you know.
Honestly, that might be a check in the pro column for me, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah,
that part.
Like, you came from somewhere else and you have other perspectives that you're bringing to this table. And this is a good thing.
Clearly, this isn't working. I'd like to hear your ideas.
Yeah. or the people that have been here for years, like where they basically were raised here. Like, I was basically raised here. Like, yes, I'm very influenced by my culture. I grew up in a Jamaican household. I still I have those values that were instilled in me, the ones that are not homophobic or transphobic. But for all intents and purposes, basically all my schooling was in the States.
Yeah.
And I'm trained in policy, politics, and institutions. You would think you'd want someone like me in the office.
I would want someone like you in the highest. That's like, you have people that have these outside perspectives that came from outside cultures. Like, you're bringing so much to the table. Why wouldn't you want someone like that to hold that's so weird. We need to change so many things. Next step, we are recording this episode on June 19th, which is also known as Juneteenth. So that's like super important to recognize them making it a federal holiday. Cool. Thank you. Let's recognize that there's, and then what else are you going to do?
Because
how about making voting a federal holiday so that it gives access to voting makes it a lot easier. That's gonna
keep what they did in COVID. How did we vote in COVID? I went in. You can mail in your ballot. Yeah. Like, I like that a lot. Like, I still went in for the whole experience or whatever because that's my whole shit. But I think that people that don't have the privileges I did or the risks that I was willing to take should absolutely be able to vote from home. Like, I understand why you shouldn't be able to do it electronically for hacking purposes or whatever. But absolutely be able to vote from home. Or go to a DMV or go through a DMV website. Because I know with at least New York, that shit is secure as fuck. Like, it's connected to your social security. If you forget your password, you're screwed for 2 weeks.
I'm saying we figured out ways to do so many things, and yet the most important things that we have to do in our country are still super antiquated.
That part.
I don't get it.
The part to run the country is hard.
Yeah. Just the idea of having to stand up and say a Pledge of Allegiance is creepy and weird. And I feel like if I was I don't know, if I'm playing a video game, I'm going through, it's like a creepy old video game. And it's like, ooh, you're seeing visions of the past. And you go into this room and all of these kids are standing up chanting. What a fucked up society. What kind of old-timey dystopian bullshit?
That's a cult.
I'd be freaked out if they made us do that every day in school.
That part.
Stand up and pledge your allegiance to the country. Ew. Yeah. How is that not weird?
I think I said that. At my what is it called? It's my ceremony, I guess, when I became naturalized. But they made me stand up and denounce my citizenship to my home country.
Ew, what?
And then pledge my allegiance to America. And it broke me. Because the only reason I rushed it is I didn't realize my paperwork had expired and my grandfather had just passed away and he raised me. So I'm I'm trying to go back home. And I was essentially in the country without paperwork at the time because it had expired. And unfortunately, I didn't get to go there. But that process was a lot.
My brain just broke when you said that. I can't imagine what that was like for you.
Yeah.
They made you do that?
Yeah. So all right. So you gotta sign up for it. You gotta pay X amount of money. I think my mom paid $700, $800 for me to be able to take the test. And then you take the test. And from what I remember, I was studying flashcards in Manhattan and with my best friend at the time. I went upstairs. I took the test. It asked me who's the president? Who's the speaker pro temp? Who's shit I know because I was in school for political science.
Yeah.
So it was like, all right, whatever. But like, who's the president? Such a basic ass question. And then they say things to you. They have you repeat them. And then they have you write stuff to make sure that you could write in English. You could speak English. And it was like, which was crazy because one of the things I had to write was just like something about Indians. I was like,
oh my God.
What?
Can I have my money back? Like, it was weird. And then it was like, on top of that, and this was no shade, but somebody that couldn't, and I fuck with the Hispanic culture. Anybody that knows me knows I fuck with the Hispanic culture. Most of my partners have been Dominican. Someone wasn't even able to speak English and got through all of that and made it to the part where they denounced citizenship to their country and pledged allegiance to this country. And then that was it.
I can't believe they make you do that. That's so
wild.
I wish they didn't say that part. Like, you gotta apply for dual citizenship, and I probably can, but like, I come from a country that's homophobic, and I don't have intentions of going back there unless it's an emergency.
Yeah. But like, that's gross to me.
That's so gross.
That
America's cocky.
They're like, we're the only lovers you're ever allowed to have, kind of shit. Like, God. That's so gross. It is disgusting.
Blood. Give us your fingerprints.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, like you gotta stand up and all in a group of people and say that shit.
Ew.
It was, and I was by myself because obviously it's not like I could take my mom in there with me. Like, that's a little weird. I'm by myself with like 50 other people.
To make you actually say the words like, I denounce the country that I was born in and pledge my allegiance to America is the grossest fucking thing I have ever heard in my life. Yeah. I did not know that. I did not know that they do that.
For $800.
And you have to pay
and you pay for it. You have to give them money to tell them that you only want to choose them.
Like, for the taxes I paid.
God.
Like, they could tell you no. And I paid taxes. Like, I was in this country for years. I was a senior in college when
that's what a lot of people don't understand. Even if you still pay taxes, like even if but you can't access the service the taxes go for, but you still have to pay them. And like, ew, what?
That part. You could just give that shit to me for free.
Yeah, you can pay us a lot of money, but you're not allowed to be the president of us. Like,
yeah, you also like
I could denounce my citizenship to my country, but I can't be the president of this one.
God,
can I be the president of my country? Like Prime Minister.
Like, I work, and you take a portion of my paycheck to pay for social services that I cannot use.
That part.
Because I am not technically allowed to use it, but you do still take it from me. You do still use it to fund it for other people, just not me.
That part. So I don't understand that. Oh, because you make X amount of money. I still have student loans. And now I actually don't make any of that money, but I did make a lot of money. But like, it's just like, I don't understand any of this process. Like, America will always be an anomaly to me.
America sounds like a cis het white man when you say shit like that to me. Like, gross.
Damn, America's a cis het. I'm gonna tweet.
It's true. Bring it back around to the beginning.
What you just
have to wrap up, so this is actually perfect. Bring it back around.
What you just told me makes America sound like a cis het white man sending dick pics unprovoked.
That part.
The entitlement, the audacity,
the fucking privilege, like, I've said this before, and so many people, I've had to delete people off of Facebook because they're like, then just leave. I hate that response. Like, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to be, whenever I hear shit like that, and whenever I see, like, when all the 4 years of hell that we went through, that we could possibly go through again, God forbid, because they won't censure him and they won't take the right for him to run again away. So we could live in that 4-year hellscape again. I say all the time, I'm like, I'm genuinely ashamed to be an American citizen. And I'm like, God, hearing that just makes it even worse. Fuck this country. Like, I'm sorry.
No, I
can't believe we do that to people. It
wasn't so expensive.
Yeah.
That part.
I'd leave if other people would take me, but they don't want us either.
They don't want us either, especially not right now during COVID.
No.
Okay, so we do have to wrap up. Unfortunately, honestly, I want to just keep sitting here talking.
I know.
Just have more things to say. But But I want to make sure we have enough time here at the end so that Ace can plug some stuff or that they did at the beginning, just so that everyone knows where they can find you, your content, all the cool shit you're doing.
Plug everything you want to plug. P.S. I bought a bunch of shit from Grind using your code.
That was you.
It was me. 2 days ago. Yeah, I used your code. I bought a pansexual mug, a pound of coffee, and a t-shirt, and I'm so excited to get it.
That's great. That's hilarious because we get notified when people use our referral codes, but I don't know who doesn't, unless they tell me. So I'm like, who the fuck is this pansexual person? Like, which one of my pansexual friends do I hunt down now?
I have one clue.
I'm right here. It was me.
That's hilarious. Thank you for doing that.
No, of course. I love them. I love that. So yeah, here, this is your space to play. I'm going to stop talking. This is you.
Oh, this is hilarious because I don't know anything that I'm doing. So I am Ace, or Ash if you know me. I'm atypical queer, _typical queer on TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch. I do have a YouTube that's on my link tree. That's located on my Twitter. I'm a Black queer content creator. I have a lot of things going on. I'm sponsored by Grinding Coffee Co. If you use Ace at checkout, you get 10% off.
Yes,
the order.
You do.
And I have actually an event called Season of Pride in July. It's on July 4th. It's being sponsored or held by Mid-Boss. They're verified. They're cool as fuck. They're developers and stuff like that. They do Pride events annually. I've been selected to be a part of it. And I'm going to be playing a game called Life is Strange. Not familiar with it, but I switched out from doing Last of Us because of how problematic it is. So I'm going to do Life is Strange.
Cool.
But that's all I got going on.
Nice. That's so exciting.
I need everyone to go follow Ace immediately. Go to all of their social media. Follow them. They really do some amazing stuff. There's a reason we wanted to get them on the show for a while.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank y'all for having me.
Oh God, we are gonna hang out for sure when you come.
Absolutely.
I'm coming up there. I'm literally coming to hang out.
I am free.
We talked about it. Emily's coming to visit New York at the end of July, and I was like, we gotta find some way to get Ace involved. We can all hang out together.
My friends are going to be here in the end of July too, so if you really do want to coordinate, because some of them have never been to New York City, especially Times Square.
Yes! Oh, yes.
So I want to take them.
Doing this.
But I won't be pregnant this time, and it won't be so fucking cold.
There you go.
Exactly.
See? Yeah. I can't. Every time she says she hates New York, I'm like, that's not fair.
It's not fair.
You never experienced
it. It's not fair.
Yeah. I would have hated New York too.
Yeah. If I was heavily pregnant and it was January, of course I'd hate it.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
You can't even drink. What the fuck?
No. We went to the Natural History Museum, and then that was great. More walking. Cool.
You came to New York for... I'm dead. Never mind.
I did see a Broadway show. We saw Anastasia. We did the thing. I did the thing to see. I didn't realize they were so small.
I love that so much. But yeah, we're definitely going to hang out and hook up and do all sorts of fun things together because we love you. And thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us. We plan on dropping this the Wednesday. I almost said Thursday. The Wednesday before your birthday.
Oh, nice. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that is. We're shuffling around it so that we can release this episode the Wednesday right before your birthday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd appreciate it. That's so cool.
Yeah, so it'll be September 1st, I believe, is the Wednesday before your birthday is when it is releasing. So we're obviously gonna let you know all that stuff beforehand, but seriously, we love you. Thank you for coming on. We're so excited to see all the stuff that you do in the future, and just know that we'll be following, and hopefully we can get you back and do some more stuff with us. So excited.
Always. You could always just shoot me an email, whatever. You can get my number after this too. And if you ever want me on, let me know. I'm always free for you too.
Oh, we love that. So you can find Emily and me on social media. So I am on Twitter at Nicole the Nerdy.
I'm at Neurotic Good.
You can check us out on our D&D actual play podcast at Lanamora Pod called Legends of Lanamora. We do a whole bunch of other stuff on Twitch live streams and play games and have monthly
on the Novi Studios page.
On the Novi Studio page where you can check all that stuff out. So I think it's at Novi_studio.
And also last Saturday of the month is our live stream, and that's coming up.
Emily, you have it written down. You have I don't remember.
When this airs, it won't be. It had just passed when this goes out. So tune in 3 weeks from now.
Yeah. Oh no. I just fucked up my monitor.
Nicole, no. Please tell me you didn't stop recording.
No. Okay. Something happened where my monitor went black for a second, but nothing happened.
Anyway.
Everything's fine. I swear.
It's all okay. Okay. So thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. And don't forget to dilly.
And don't forget to dally.